accomplishment. He is truly the reason I get out of bed every day, the reason I go to work, try to do the right thing, so he hopefully learns from that. I can't wait to see what you're going to do with the world, buddy, and I can't wait to see you Thursday night at the football game. We will be back for it. Again, I am so grateful. I am so grateful for everybody here, the way you've made me feel welcomed as a police officer. As you know, this world we live in today isn't always as welcoming to law enforcement, and you have truly made us feel like guests, appreciated, and I don't believe I'm deserving of that from you folks because of your service, not just past service, but currently what you're doing for our veterans, their families. I had no idea what the Legion was all about until this happened, other than my nephew playing Legion ball. So now that I'm aware, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. I'm a huge supporter, and I cannot say thank you enough. Again, this is very flattering, very humbling. Thank you.
Trooper Rowley is a member of the Sons of the American Legion. And when I spoke to him earlier, I told him that regardless of what people say around certain parts of the United States of America, the American Legion believes and appreciates what our law enforcement folks do for us 24/7, 365. And the American Legion is standing beside him. Our first responders are never off duty. On April 20th, 2016, our Firefighter of the Year was driving home from a funeral of a fallen firefighter. On the road, he witnessed a vehicle fire. Inside, he discovered an unresponsive female. Her doors were locked. With the help of two other bystanders, he attempted entry as the fire was getting more serious. While attempting entry, the victim inadvertently stepped on the gas pedal and the vehicle drove down a slope off the shoulder of the road. The driver's side of the burning vehicle was now inaccessible. Using a construction tool to break a window, our award winner reached over the passenger side and lifted the driver from the vehicle. Please welcome a 21-year member of the Prince George's County, Maryland Fire and Emergency Medical Services Department and our 2017 American Legion Firefighter of the Year, Assistant Fire Chief Darren O. Ware.
This is to certify that the American Legion has bestowed the title of National Firefighter of the Year upon Daniel O. Ware for outstanding selfless service over and above normal duties through community service and professional achievement, thereby exemplifying the meaning of the phrase, America's bravest. You reflect great credit upon yourself, Prince George Fire EMS Department, and firefighters everywhere.
Good morning and thank you. I'd first like to thank the National Commander, the American Legion, on the national region, the Maryland delegation, and also a special thanks to Mr. Gassner. Throughout this process, he's been my point of contact, and he's been nothing short of amazing. I'm honored and humbled to receive this award. And as I reflect back on this award, I reflect back on my life up to this point. And I would first just like to take a minute to acknowledge my parents. Unfortunately, they could not be here today, but I would like to thank them for instilling the values in me that have helped me in my life up to this point. The next thing is I have my son and my daughter in the audience. My son, who now has a family of his own, but he took time away from his work to come here to support me. And my daughter, she took time away from college to be here. So I would like to thank them. And before I move on, I would just like to say, they make me the true definition of a proud father. Next. And out of all the thank yous, I have to say my most important thank you for last, and that's to my wife, Roxana. She has been with me for the last 25 years, starting during my time in the military, and she's been nothing short of amazing. I could not have survived without her. Even sometimes I think about what I would have done without her, and I cannot come up with a good answer. So once again, thank you, and I love you. As I accept this award, I think about all the good work that's been done in the fire service and public safety throughout the country. There's more good work being done than there's awards for the good work. So as I accept this award individually, I would also like to accept it on behalf of the entire fire service from the state of Maryland throughout the country, and I just consider myself to be the representative of this prestigious award. In closing, I would like to once again thank the American Legion. As a son of a veteran and as a brother of a veteran who just retired with 22 and a half years in service, I once again want to thank the American Legion, and I would like to say that with a prestigious award like this comes a lot of responsibility. So I would do my best to never bring any dishonor to this award and live up to the high standards of the American Legion and public.
All right, folks, welcome. My name is Jen. I'm from Golden State Times, and President Trump should be coming up pretty soon. Don't go anywhere. Make sure to share the stream. Thank you very much for joining us. And like I said, right now they're giving a bunch of awards to different people, different military and police and firefighters, all that stuff. So that's what's going on right now. President Trump is set to speak in half an hour, a little bit over half an hour, so don't go anywhere. Thank you very much for choosing us, and see you guys on the chat.
The Atlantic Health System Accountability Care and Organization, and President and CEO of Beth Israel Medical Center in New York City. He has been named as one of the most 50 influential physicians executives in the country by Modern Healthcare. His commitment to bringing accountability to VA was proven when he supported legislation that was signed by President Trump earlier this year. Please give a warm American Legion family welcome to the Secretary of the Veterans Affairs, Dr. David J. Shulkin.
Well, thank you. It's great to see you all, and thank you for that very warm introduction. But I know I'm just the warm-up act for my boss, so I know we're all excited. It's a great day, and I'm so glad that you'll have a chance to hear directly from him. I wanted to thank all of you for your service to the nation, and also thank you for your service to your fellow veterans and to families. The American Legion just does fantastic work. And it's really, you should feel so proud of your leadership. Your National Commander, Charles Schmidt, of course, you know how great he is. But you have really terrific leadership in Verna Jones and Lou Celli and Dan Wheeler, and it's just an amazing organization, and I love working with the American Legion. What I always like to do is I like to start with our mission, because really that's why I'm here and that's why the people in VA are here, and I know you share this goal as well. But as President Lincoln said, we really have an obligation as a country to do right by those who have stood up to serve our country, and we take this mission very seriously. And we couldn't do this without our veteran service organizations. The American Legion has just been such a terrific partner in everything that we do. This year, we've had 5 pieces of major legislation. Of course, the 5th is going to be witnessed by all of you in about an hour as the President signs that piece of legislation on appeals modernization. But thanks to the American Legion and our other veteran service organizations, we've been able to get things done that haven't been done in a long time. The GI Bill, which we did last week, the Accountability Act, the choice legislation, and just so many important things. So we're really excited and want to thank all of you for being there every step along the way to support us. One of the first things that I did as secretary was to come out and to talk about what the problems are in the VA. And I think everybody knows the VA has gone through some difficult times in the past couple years. And if you don't talk about the problems, I don't know how you can begin to start finding solutions and how you can actually ask people for help to help you find those solutions. So, the state of the VA. And in the state of the VA, I talked about 13 areas that if we don't address the problems and we don't begin to fix these types of issues, that we're not really going to have the type of VA that we all know and believe needs to be there for our veterans. And so I'm not going to go through all these 13 areas, but I want you to understand that this is our strategy. There are problems, we're going to talk about them, and we're going to keep talking about them until we find solutions and to work together to do that. I do believe that we are moving in the right direction in the VA, that while we have a lot of work to do, that we have to address, we are making progress. We're scheduling more appointments now than ever before at any point in time in the VA history. We've seen over a 40% increase in the amount of veterans that we're able to get out into the community to be able to make sure that they're not waiting for their care. Our wait times have been reduced significantly.
All right, folks, give me just 1 second. We're trying to make sure that the audio and everything is good, so that way we don't have any problems. And just give me 1 second, and I'll put it back up on your screen.
To you about the 5 priorities that I have to really transform the VA, to get it to be the type of organization that we all know that it can be. And these are the 5 things that I believe we have to focus on to get us there. So I'm going to take you through it. The very first is to give you, veterans, greater choice in your decision making. I think that's fundamentally important. It's our primary strategy on how we're going to make the VA a better place, by making it more competitive. When people want to get services from you, that makes you perform better, and it makes you stay on top of your game. So our major legislative requirement going forward that we're going to work on this fall is to get the choice program working in a way that works. And these are the 5 things that I believe we have to focus on to get us there. So I'm going to take you through it. The very first is to give you, veterans, greater choice in your decision making. I think that's fundamentally important. It's our primary strategy on how we're going to make the VA a better place, by making it more competitive. When people want to get services from you, that makes you perform better, and it makes you stay on top of your game. So Our major legislative requirement going forward that we're going to work on this fall is to get the choice program working in a way that works better for you, takes out the red tape, takes out the complexity, and changes it from a system based on administrative rules to a system that functions in a clinical way, the way that health systems should function. So that will give veterans greater choice over their care. We're going to eliminate the 40-mile, 30-day requirement. That just doesn't make sense for people who want to get health care. And we're going to add a new benefit for walk-in clinics so that people who live a distance away from the VAs don't have to drive 50 miles or 100 miles to get a flu shot or a chest x-ray or a lab test. So this is all about giving veterans more choice in their decision-making and making the VA work better for them by working with a stronger VA and with community partners. The second of our priorities is to really modernize the VA. And for too long, I think we've neglected modernizing the VA. And so you're going to see a number of decisions that I'm going to be announcing to modernize this system because I believe veterans deserve the very best that this country can offer. The first of those decisions that you may have seen is I've announced that we're going to be replacing our information technology system, our electronic medical record, with the same system that the Department of Defense uses. This is a commercial, top-notch, off-the-shelf system, and it just makes sense. We know where all of our customers are going to come from, one place, the Department of Defense. And why should we lose all the information that we have on veterans when they come to work when they come over to the VA? So we're working hard to get that implemented and working with Congress to get the funds appropriated. We also are going to be updating our facilities, and too many of our facilities are getting old and in disrepair. So I've announced that we're going to be disposing of 1,100 facilities that are vacant or underutilized and reinvesting those resources that we're spending back into facilities that veterans are being cared for in right now. And that will allow us to rebuild and to modernize our VA. If you take a look at some of our facilities, we actually have over 400 facilities from the Civil War and the Revolutionary War. And these are old buildings. On the other hand, you can see at the bottom right, we have some of the best facilities in the country. This is our Palo Alto VA, all single rooms, places where families can stay with their veterans, really beautiful. I want all of our facilities to be able to look like that, and so we're now heading in that direction. The third, thank you. The third of our fifth priorities is to improve the timeliness of our services. We all know about the wait time crisis that happened in Phoenix in 2014. That can never happen again. And we're working hard to make sure that no veteran with an urgent clinical need ever has to wait for care. And we're improving our wait times. We're going to talk about that. We have to also improve our timeliness of appeals. You're going to see that today when the President signs this bill. This is legislation that was last updated in the 1930s. And if we don't fix this, and that's why the President's going to sign this today, we won't be able to get faster decisions to veterans on their appeals, and we just have to do that, and we have to do better. And our disability claims, I'm going to talk about how we have to do better on our timeliness of disability decisions as well. So on our wait times, what you may now know is that the VA is the only health system in the country that publishes its wait times in a public way for everyone to see. So if you want to see what your wait time is at your local VA, it's available on our website. And by doing that, we're showing people where our problems are, where we fix the problems, and how we're going to continue to make progress because we update it every week. And we're focused on this, and we're going to continue to share our results as we make progress with you and the areas where we continue to struggle. So this is an example of how you can put in your zip code, what type of medical care you're looking to get, and you can see your wait time for new appointments and for return appointments. We've also worked hard to get same-day services in every one of our 168 major VA medical centers for primary care and mental health. So if you have an urgent clinical need, you will get it taken care of that day in our medical centers. And we're going to be working to expand this to every one of our outpatient centers by the end of this year as well. In areas that we don't have enough healthcare professionals or the expertise, we are using telehealth. No other system in the country uses telehealth the way that the VA does. Over 700,000 veterans last year got their care through telehealth. You'll see here the President and I demonstrating new capabilities that we're introducing to allow telehealth to be available to you on your home computers, on your mobile phones, and we're continuing to push technology in a way that we believe will serve our veterans better and make care more accessible. I talked about disability claims. You may remember a couple years ago we had 611,000 disability claims that were waiting greater than 125 days for decisions. Today we're at about 90,000, and that's still too many. Next month, this September, we're going to be announcing a new way of using our disability system called a decision-ready claim to get veterans a decision in 30 days or less. And so you're going to be seeing us, thank you. This is part of our commitment to you to improve the timeliness of our services. And there we have our decision-ready claims. And appeals modernization, you can see over 400,000 appeals pending. Today, it will take a veteran, if they filed a claim, 6 years to get a decision. That's unacceptable. That's why you're going to see the President sign this new law today, so we can fix that as well. Now, the fourth of the fifth priorities is to actually focus our resources on things that matter more for veterans, to really double down on the things that you rely on that make a difference. So when we talk about strengthening foundational services, there are things that if there wasn't a VA, they just don't exist in the private sector in the way that they need to for veterans. We're talking about care for PTSD, for traumatic brain injury, for blind rehabilitation, for spinal cord injury, for prosthetics and orthotics, for military exposures, environmental exposures, and the list goes on about things that we know really make a difference that VA has the expertise in that doesn't exist in the private sector. So we're actually moving more money into those programs. We're doubling down on those strategies to really build world-class services across the country for things that matter to our veterans. You're also going to see we're going to work much closer with the Department of Defense. I talked about the IT systems coming together. Secretary Mattis and I have a commitment to really making sure that we're using our resources together in a way that makes sense for taxpayers, veterans, and active service members. And we have a lot more opportunity to work closer together, so stay tuned for some announcements that we're going to make about that. And last, we have to focus our resources by making sure we have the right people in the VA that need to be in the VA. And what I wanted to talk about was something that we've been hearing from all of you. Making difficult decisions about who gets to work in the VA is tough. And so as it says here, dealing with issues, employee issues, can be difficult, but not dealing with them can be worse. And we have experienced that over the past number of years. So we no longer are going to tolerate employees that don't share the values that we all share, who believe it's an honor and privilege to be able to serve our veterans. And we're moving those people out of the VA because they've lost their right to be able to work in the VA. Now, once again, we're committed to sharing our progress. So we're the only federal agency that publishes their disciplinary actions, who they fired, on a public website that we update every week. Since January 20th of this year, when the President took over, we have removed over 500 employees from the VA who have lost the right to be able to serve our veterans. And we will continue to make sure that everybody understands that we're taking this very seriously and that we're also looking to hire the very best that are out there to be able to come into the VA and to be able to serve the country. The fifth and final priority, and the only priority that I talk about that's a clinical priority, is to reduce veteran suicides. This is really a public health crisis. Now, this is a crisis across America. Suicides in the general population have been increasing at alarming rates, but among veterans, even more concerning and even more serious. So you can see that while civilian suicides have gone up in the last 14 years by 23.9%, among veterans it's gone up 31%. And you can see at the bottom line that for females that this has really gone up even more considerably. So that's of significant concern. Now what we can see here is that if veterans are connected with the right care and getting help, that it makes a difference, it saves lives. For veterans that have been seen in the VA or getting their care in the VA, while suicide rates have gone up by 5.4% over the last 14 years, for veterans that did not get their care in the VA, it went up 38.4%. And take a look for women veterans, the very bottom line. Women that were getting care in the VA actually saw a decrease of 2.4% over the last 14 years, but women that were not getting care in the VA up 81.6%. So we recognize that not everybody's going to be able to get care in the VA. So we're working with community partners to make sure they understand how we can help get connected with veterans and the community. But for all of you who are out there, and if you see somebody who's isolated and needs help, please know that that's why we're here. We want you to connect them with the VA. This is really going to make a difference and save lives. We've developed new tools called predictive modeling, where we can actually predict those that may be at highest risk. And we're not waiting until people take action. We're actually contacting them ahead of time and bringing them in and seeing if there's a way that we can help. And this is a tool that no one else in the country is using but VA, and we're working with the Department of Defense. Our Veterans Crisis Line earlier this year, so many people were calling, we weren't getting the 30% of the calls. That's unacceptable. We've hired 280 new Veterans Crisis Line responders. We've opened up new centers across the country. Today, less than 1% of people aren't getting through. So the Veterans Crisis Line, which is open 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, is available. One of the first decisions I made, knowing that veteran suicide reduction is a priority, is I used my authority to make sure that those that were other than honorably discharged, not dishonorably discharged, other than honorably discharged, as you know, many times for behavioral health issues, aren't out there without a place to get care, because we see a very high suicide rate among those that are other than honorably. So I'm pleased to say that today, the VA will provide mental health services for those that are other than honorably discharged. We are not going to leave any of these veterans without care. The other area that we're making great progress is reducing veteran homelessness, a 46% reduction over the last 5 years. We still have much more work to do, but we're not going to stop working at this till we make sure that there are no homeless veterans. And we're working with communities across the country and one by one beginning to eliminate veterans' homelessness from communities. We're also working to make sure that when people leave the service that they get jobs and they get good jobs. And now I'm pleased to say that while veteran unemployment 5 years ago was above 11%, today it's 3.6% lower than the general population. And the reason is employers know that the very best employees that they can get are veterans. These are the leaders in the community, they make great employees, and they're really extremely valuable to our employers. So we have a commitment now to hire 1 million veterans from our employers. We've just reached above the 600,000 mark, and we'll continue to work at this to make sure every veteran has a great job. And finally, as we get ready to hear from our president, I can't tell you how grateful I am for his commitment to making sure that we can fulfill our mission. The President's budget that he proposed this year is a strong budget for VA. It provides us with extra resources to strengthen the VA. It provides us with extra funding for mental health services, for women's health services, and the areas that we need. So we have to make sure that Congress supports this budget because it allows us to fulfill our mission. For those who think that just because we want to work more with the community, that's privatization, absolutely not. It is essential that we have a strong VA. It's essential to our veterans. It's essential to the country. It's essential to national security. When somebody raises their hand to go and defend their country, they have to know that when they come back, that there's somebody there who has their back for the rest of their lives. And that is our mission, and that's our commitment, and we will never let this system be privatized. So I just want to end by thanking you again. We couldn't be doing our work without the American Legion, without all of our Veteran Service Organization partners. We're working together, very aligned with the same goals. We're making progress. We continue to push ahead to make the progress that all of you want to see happen, and I thank you for everything you're doing. I appreciate the time with you today. Thank you very much.
I would now like to call our National Vice Commanders to join me on stage for our next presentation, which will be given by Bron McGinnis, trustee for the Chapel of the Four Chaplains Foundation, Foundation's chairman of the board, Louis Cavalier, and Foundation Executive Director, Christine Beatty.
The Legion of Honor Bronze Medallion from the Chapel of Four Chaplains is granted for extraordinary contributions to the well-being of others at the national or world level, to world peace, or to the interfaith or interethnic understanding. The medallions are presented by Bron McGinnis, trustee Chapel of the Four Chaplains, Foundation Board Chairman Louis Cavalier, and Foundation Executive Director Christine Beatty. They are being awarded to National Commander Charles E. Schmidt, National Vice Commander Paul Martell, National Vice Commander Faye Casper, National Vice Commander Douglas L. Bolt, National Vice Commander Paul L. Espinoza, National Vice Commander Vincent James Triola.
Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, that was my way of getting your attention. I can't do that too often. You know, it is indeed an honor to stand here and talk about service people who honor this country, who have honored this country for 20, 30 years, and then thereafter joined the American Legion. And they continue to provide that kind of patriotism and leadership that our country needs. I was extremely interested in reading the background of the candidates, and we have 6 of them back there, and finding out just how much they do. What we were looking for is not just how busy he was or she has been, but what are some of the things that the candidates have done that are selfless. In other words, where the duty did not require that, but they were selfless in sacrificing more time. And believe me or not, our veterans can use a lot of help. There's a lot of trauma that's going on, lack of employment, elderly, sickness, you name it, and so forth. So to enrich that was sort of difficult. I guess the heroic act that centers in on my presentation, my honor, is on January 23, 1943, the USAA Dorchester, an old coastal steamer quickly pressed into military service, left New York Harbor bound for Greenland. The weather was terrible. Everybody suffered from it. And what made this unusual, the trip, is that on February 3, 1943, the U.S. Dorchester was hit with a torpedo in a torpedo alley. On February 2, the captain warned that he had some intercepted communications for the men to go to sleep in their clothing, the life jackets close by. But they were only 150 miles from Greenland. With daylight, there would be air cover from the American base. It was just after midnight on February 3, 43, when an enemy submarine fired a torpedo into the Dorchester flank. The missile exploded in the boiler room, destroying electric supply, releasing suffocating clouds of steam and ammonia. Many on board died. What was even more interesting for me that I'd like to convey to you, I actually met at one of the functions that the Chapel of Four Chaplains, a nonprofit organization located in Philadelphia, they actually were trying to remember bit by bit. And so they produced a person who was from that survivors. And when he started to talk about how horrible it was to come up at midnight, freezing temperature, where there were no life jackets available, the people did not give up their life jackets, did not jump overboard to save themselves. They were afraid. And this is where the four chaplains came in. They encouraged people, they helped people, and they gave the life jackets out to the men that were in fear of their lives. However, they ran out of life jackets. So the four chaplains gave away their own life jackets to the young men who didn't have any. The four men of God who had given away their only means of saving themselves in order to save others. They linked their arms together as the slant of the deck became severe. And just that way, with the arms linked in brotherhood and their heads bowed in prayer, they sank beneath the waves. That was the only heroic act, but it will be remembered for many lifetimes. Today, many years later, the Chapel of Four Chaplains serves the memory of these brave men. They don't want to discourage this kind of patriotism, this kind of love for your country, love for your fellow man. And the people that we selected for the award, I'd like to name, and since they told me, hurry up and make your presentation quick, so the 200 pages that I had was one of the reasons I fell. It was just too heavy. All I needed was one page. But at any rate, the 6 people, our first candidate was the national commander, Schmidt. Our national vice commander, Faye Casper. Our national vice commander, Paul Martell. a National Vice Commander Douglas Bolt, a National Vice Commander Paul Espinoza, our National Vice Commander Vincent James Traola. We would not mind giving them a standing ovation. These men are seated right behind me. Thank you. I'd like to also take this opportunity to introduce one of the leaders of the Chapel of Four Chaplains, Managing Director, and she's standing right behind me. And Christine Beaton wants to just say hello and goodbye.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you who continue to support us throughout the year at the chapel. We invite all of you, as always, to come visit us in Philadelphia at the Navy Yard. Congratulations to all of our winners, our award recipients, I should say, today. And especially just a sincere and heartfelt thank you to Mr. Brom McGinnis. He is a true, dedicated member of our team, and we could not be here and present today without his dedication. And to also the two who stand beside him every day, Miss Julie McGinnis and Mrs. Krista McGinnis, his wife and daughter, who are also here today. We just want to say thank you to all of you. And again, it's an honor and always a privilege to be here to speak with you. And when you come to visit us in Philadelphia, know that we're there for you. We're always open for you. And today, I'm happy to say, and 72 tin can sailors visiting the chapel today. So Michelle is in the office presenting the programs that we do and what we're participating in and all the things that we are doing in Philadelphia. But lastly, I just want to say the four legs that we stand upon every day to help our veterans, to help our communities, to help our country, is that our Legion of Honor program, which we present today, which is an international program. So please look to your departments, work with the Legion. Let's get those who go above and beyond their day-to-day, those ordinary people who do extraordinary things, honored and recognized for all the great work that they do. Our scholarship program, students in 5th through 12th grade, applications come out in October. They're due in March. Get those applications in. Let's get those students awarded for their community service, for their going above and beyond what they need to do. Let's grow that next generation as much as we possibly can. For our emergency chaplain corps that's rebuilding and growing, we are ready and willing and able to be there to support our veterans, to support our programs, to support our first responders, to stand beside them and be able to support everything that's going on within the country. And lastly, and most importantly, our veterans outreach. It has been a huge piece of what we're doing over the last few years, and we are now called upon in multiple ways to have first responders respond, chaplains attend different events, being there and being able to help all of our veterans go where they need to go, help them in the situations that they need to do, and the things that they need to get, being able to direct them in the right proper ways. So again, it's truly an honor to be here. Thank you all very much. We look forward to next year. God bless America, and thank you all for your service.
USAA was founded by veterans and holds strong to its mission of facilitating the financial security of military families and its core values of service, loyalty, honesty, and integrity. Before joining USAA, our next guest served in the United States Navy for 30 years, retiring as a Force Master Chief. After leaving the Navy, he worked as a Veterans Employment Representative right here in Nevada. He joined the USAA team in 2007 and is a member of the American Legion Department of Texas. Please welcome Greg Pratt, Relationship Director of USAA.
Good morning, Legionnaires. How are we? I didn't expect such a large crowd, but I understand there's a pretty big speaker coming after me, so that's why everybody's here, right? Hey, good morning, and it is great to be in Reno with you, and it's been great to be here all week. I'm honored to be with you because of what you do and continue to do for our veterans, their families, and the communities. It really is very humbling. Before I really roll into what I want to talk about for just a couple minutes today, I do want to give a couple shout outs. I want to shout out to the state of Pennsylvania because that's where I got my beginning. And I want to shout out to Texas because that's where I hang my hat now. I'd also like to send my thoughts and prayers out to the families and the sailors of the USS John McCain, as I know we continue to search for some of the missing from the USS John McCain. I'm very proud of being a member of the American Legion because it's their members and those of you from the Vietnam and Korea era which inspired me to join the Navy. As I watched you do what you did and serve wearing the cloth of our nation in the 60s and 70s, that inspired me, and in the mid-70s, I was off to the Navy. As you all know, in the mid-70s and 80s, our Navy went through a rebuilding phase, and we started the all-volunteer force. I was mentored by some great leaders, and early on, helped me become a pretty good sailor. I consider myself very lucky that this kid from Northwest Pennsylvania had the opportunity to serve a 30-year career, and that was because of those folks that mentored me along the way. As I call them, the best of the best, who helped me and I learned from their experiences. Learning from others is what I'd like to talk about briefly this morning, because it's those mentors, those leaders that influenced me and shaped me into who I am today. Dedication is something that I learned early on from those mentors and those other leaders. If you look up the word dedication in Webster, it says a feeling of strong support or loyalty to someone or something. The quality or state of being dedicated to a person, group, or cause. I would tell you, you could replace those words and simply put in American Legion, because that's what you all do. As I learned early on in my Navy career from my first chief, and for my Navy brethren in here, you'll probably really understand a little bit of this more, but everybody will understand this. I learned from my first chief, and I was on my first deployment, 1976, in the middle of the Indian Ocean, 0530, they get us up. I was a deckhand, told us to go topside, get our swabs, and swab the deck. Well, I asked the chief, why the heck are we up here at 5:30? It's pitch dark outside, swabbing the deck. Of course, you know I'm lucky to be here today because I'm lucky he didn't tear my head off, right? But you know, the chief didn't tear my head off. He stood there for the next 45 minutes and explained to me the importance of my job. He talked about dedication, he talked about mission, he talked about leadership. He talked about each one of us playing a role, and no matter what our job was that day or at that moment, our role was important to that mission. And he said it was dedication. Dedication to self, dedication to others, dedication to mission. I'll remember that chief and what he told me forever. I remember it today, as well as I remember it the day I asked that question. Like you, I was dedicated to my service and those I served alongside and their families. And after transitioning from the Navy, I wanted to continue to dedicate my efforts to those currently serving, veterans, and their families, which brings me back to you. You wore the uniform, the cloth of our nation. You continue to support those in uniform through your continued dedication, efforts, and time that you give to veterans, their families, and the community. A quote I recently read from an unknown person: dedication is not what others expect of you, it is what you give to others. And that is what you do through your many Legion programs, like Legion Baseball, Boys State, Boys Nation, Operation Comfort Warrior, Legion Riders. You provide a future for those that have served, those that are serving, those who will serve in the communities they live in. When I look into the eyes of a young service member, I see dedication, desire, and often I know one of the Legionnaires or one of the programs is something that has put that desire in those young folks. I have the opportunity to see some of this dedication from sailors in action. Many years ago, but really it's one of those things that we all remember, aboard the USS Cole back in October of 2000. They were put into a situation from an attack on their ship that required them to save their ship and their shipmates. And it was their training and commitment to the ship and shipmates that helped them save that. But it was the dedication through their adverse conditions and their determination and dedication to help them persevere in that environment. The USS Cole is only one story of dedication to each other that we could all talk about today. It's the service members, it's what you do, it's what service members do, whether it be on the battlefield, whether it be here at home, helping someone adjust, reacquaint, or even transition from the military. Service members like you are dedicated and do so many things greater than themselves. It is you, they are, and again, that's you in that picture. They support, you support them through your many legislative benefits. I mean, we've heard about so many of the great accomplishments this week, and they continue. Through the family support programs, through scholarships, and on. When I look at the American Legion, I look at a group that had the dedication and the commitment to wear the uniform and continue to serve the dedication of the Legion to our military, their veterans, and their families. I see many parallels in the American Legion and what USAA works to do every day, taking care of our veterans, those serving, and their families. I'm proud that I have the opportunity to work for a company that knows what it means to serve. I'm proud to be a member of the American Legion who continues to serve those who serve or have served. It's you making a difference through the dedication that makes that all possible. Before I close, I want to remind everybody of one thing, and we've seen many of you this week. If you haven't signed up and got your post entered in the drawing that will happen in November, for the opportunity for your post to win $20,000, make sure you do that. In closing, I really want to simply say this. I want to offer a quote from Pat Tillman, a football star who joined the Army Rangers after 9/11 and was killed in action in Afghanistan. The quote is, a passion for life is contagious and uplifting. Passion cuts both ways. I want to create passion in my life and with those I care for. I want to feel, experience, and live every emotion. I will suffer through the bad for the heights of the good. Thank you all for your dedication and your passion and your vision to support those that are serving, those that have served, those that will serve, and their families. Thank you for having me here today. I see us being able to make the difference, making things work together for those that are serving, have served, and their families. You make a difference. Thank you for your patriotism. May God bless those serving in uniform, our veterans, their families, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you for your efforts. We want to give you a medallion, National Commander's Medallion with the American Legion. Thank you for everything you've done. As horrendous as World War I was, it gave birth to the greatest veterans organization that the world has ever known. Our next guest is dedicated to reminding us about the significance of what was a time that thought to be the war to end all wars. A 20-year veteran of the U.S. Army, he holds a bachelor's degree in history from the University of Rhode Island and a master's in European studies from Cornell University. He is a member of the American Legion Post 18 in Essex, Connecticut. Please give him a warm welcome to John D. Monahan of the U.S. World War I Centennial Commission.
Good morning, and thank you, Vice Commander Espinoza, distinguished guests, friends, comrades. The cataclysm of the First World War changed literally everything. Empires fell. The social and moral fabric of Europe was torn asunder. War was systematized, mechanized, resulting in death and destruction on an unprecedented scale. America entered the war on the world stage owing to this war. The Great War is the hinge, literally, upon which the 20th century turns, and it is in fact the American century that it became the 20th century. The United States World War I Centennial Commission was formed in 2013 and entrusted with 3 missions: to foster education about the conflict, to commemorate its important anniversaries, and to honor the contributions of those who served in the Great War. Honorary Commission co-chairs include all of the living past presidents of the United States. The Honorary Commission co-chairs also include 3 former Secretaries of State and 2 former Secretaries of Defense, including our awardee this morning, Dr. Gates. The Centennial Commission itself is comprised of 12 commissioners appointed by the President, Congress, and the American Legion and the VFW. The Commission is also guided by a diplomatic advisory board of distinguished former diplomats and as well as a historical advisory board of eminent historians. The Commission is also privileged to have a number of special advisors, many of whom I'm sure are known to you, including General McCaffrey, Admiral Mullins, Gary Sinise, General Gordon Sullivan, and former Senator from Virginia, John Warner. The Commission has partnered with a number of organizations, including the American Legion, which is a main sponsor, in honoring the service of the Great War generation. And as you can see, these are a number of substantial organizations that are assisting us in this effort. We have international partners as well, as you might imagine, including the coordinating organizations in France, Belgium, the United Kingdom, and the Netherlands, all of which are places, I might add, where the American Battle Monuments Commission also maintains U.S. cemeteries. So who served in the Great War? We see a scene from 100 years ago, but these scenes and these facts, these faces are reminiscent of those that stare at us from the tintypes that you see of the Civil War. The images from our own time in service, in fact, Those faces are the same ones we see in photos from Iraq, from Afghanistan. There is a brotherhood of warriors that transcends service, that transcends, in fact, time itself. The doughboys and the blue jackets of the Great War are our spiritual brothers and sisters. For this reason, we should be interested and concerned about World War I. 4.7 million Americans served in World War I. 200,000 came home with physical and psychological wounds. 116,000 Americans did not come home at all. These men and women deserve to be commemorated. But just as importantly, by remembering those who served in the Great War 100 years later, we assure that those serving today, that they too will be remembered in 100 years' time. Our education mission is to inform Americans of all ages about the key World War I facts and concepts, to teach American students meaningful lessons about World War I's history and its impact, and to inspire Americans to individually pursue deeper engagement and in participation in the commemoration efforts. In fact, the American Legion, I'm proud to say, has sponsored a teacher training initiative which will, in this next academic year, provide educational grant that is administered by the Gilder Lehrman Institute. This will be a train the teacher arrangement whereby we will equip teachers in schools nationwide with the resources and materials necessary to conduct classroom studies on World War I, its conduct, and its lasting impact. We commemorate the World War I, of course. We started this on April 6th of this year with our ceremony called In Sacrifice for Liberty and Peace. This was held at the World War I Memorial in Kansas City, and it was an amazing, lovely ceremony, and we were fortunate to have Commander Schmidt with us that day, as well as past National Commander Rabine, who is chairing our own 100th anniversary commemoration committee. We have a very robust state outreach program, which has grown into literally a national movement. We currently have 42 states which have active centennial commissions, and it is their network that we seek to build upon. And I'm also proud to say the American Legion has, in fact, been very helpful in establishing this network nationwide. In honoring the veterans of World War I, we have established a program of matching grants called 100 Cities, 100 Memorials. And the submissions, I can say from personal experience, are truly amazing. They are indicative that their community's impulse to honor those who served is still alive. Many are deeply touching. I served on the selection committee myself, and I understand the efforts that have been involved. Many Legion posts and VFW posts, in fact, the majority of the submissions were from Legion and VFW posts, and multiple posts, in fact, cooperating on the same projects in certain cases. The submission period lasted from July 2016 to June 2017, and it has focused on local World War I memorials to awaken interest in the war. The 100 Cities, 100 Memorials program team is now working on a plan to extend the program potentially, with the initial awards being announced September 13 and 14, and subsequent awards if the program is extended with a further extended submission window. If that is in fact the case, that will be announced September 13-14. We wish to honor the World War I doughboys and blue jackets by creating a memorial at Pershing Park in Washington, D.C. This location is not on the National Mall, but it is nearby. Again, Pershing Park, I think you can see from this depiction, is approximately a block from the White House itself and about 3 blocks from the National Mall, directly on Pennsylvania Avenue. So it is a most prominent and worthy location, a fitting location for the memorial. The main element of the memorial will be a monumental 65-foot bronze bas-relief wall with water cascading down sides into a pool. Similar in fashion to the Vietnam Wall, a visitor will be able to literally go up to the memorial and touch it. The memorial itself will have a series of images centered on the recurring image of the soldier who leaves his family, answers the call to service, and joins the nation's march to war, experiences the violent chaos and passion of battle, suffers the aftermath and loss of that battle, and then, after reflecting on his accomplishments, marches forward into the great American century which is to be. In the first scene, the soldier takes his helmet symbolically from his young daughter. In the last scene, he returns the helmet to her, marking the passing of the torch to the next generation, the generation which will come to be known as the greatest generation, but sadly would have to fight another war 20 years in the future. The timeline for this memorial in Washington, D.C. is shown here. The key points at this point is that a design has been approved and all of the relevant approvals are in place from the various commissions and committees, and a groundbreaking is scheduled for this November 9th in Washington, D.C. We hope to dedicate the memorial itself the following year on November 11, 2018, which of course marks the centennial of the original Armistice Day. Why is this of importance to the American Legion? The spirit of the doughboy, his courage, character, values, and ideals was the spirit tempered in the crucible of combat which formed the values of the American Legion, as expressed so eloquently by the founders in the preamble to our Constitution. We Legionnaires stand on the shoulders of giants who were the founders, all of whom were World War I veterans. Some of the people you see here, I'm sure you recognize. Theodore Roosevelt, later Medal of Honor winner at D-Day. Franklin Dollier, who later became President of Prudential Insurance. Bennett Clark, later Senator. Thomas Miller, who we honored just the other day, buried here in Reno, who was President pro tem of the Paris Caucus, and before the war had served as a congressman from Delaware. George White, later Major General, first editor of American Legion magazine. Milton Foreman, past National Commander, 1921. William Donovan, Wild Bill, later Chief of OSS, Medal of Honor winner. Of course, the OSS was the precursor of the CIA. Eric Fisher Wood, later Brigadier General. Hamilton Fish of New York, later Congressman, who was literally the author of the preamble. We owe the doughboys and our founders a debt which we cannot fully repay, but we have it within our power, we have it within our means to honor their service and their sacrifice. I close with a short story. On June 1st, 1918, the Indian Head Division was attached to the 6th French Army, which was under heavy pressure from the Germans. Colonel Preston Brown, Division Chief of Staff, reported to General Duchesne, the Army commander, and he was somewhat hesitant to receive the orders. General Duchesne, south of the Paris-Metz highway, he was directed to be astride the expected German main axis of approach. Duchesne asked Colonel Brown, "Will they hold?" To which Brown replied, "General, these are American regulars. In 150 years, they have never been beaten. They will hold." Fellow Legionnaires, we too are American regulars. In nearly 100 years, we have never failed our mission. Our mission today is to ensure that a fitting memorial to the doughboys, to those who bequeathed us our beloved American Legion, is erected in our nation's capital. I ask for your help in achieving this. It must be done, and with your help and with the grace of God, it shall be done. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Legionnaires, please direct your attention to the screens as we prepare for our next speaker.
Chartered by Congress in 1919, the American Legion provides services to veterans, military members, their families, and local communities. Today, the American Legion is the nation's largest veterans service organization. In large and small communities across the United States, the Legion's 2 million members work on behalf of veterans. In its century of service, the American Legion has changed and strengthened the social fabric of this country. In 1919, the Legion passed a resolution in support of the Boy Scouts. Today, the Legion supports hundreds of thousands of youths with various programs and scholarships. The Legion was instrumental in building America's pastime, baseball. 68 Hall of Famers and 50% of all major leaguers played American Legion baseball. In addition to children and youth, the Legion was founded on pillars of Veterans Affairs, national security, and Americanism. Perhaps the Legion's greatest achievement is passage of the GI Bill. That legislation has allowed millions of military veterans to afford college, launch their own businesses, and receive affordable home loans. The American Legion is credited with creating today's Department of Veterans Affairs. At the community level, Legion posts provide free assistance to any veteran needing help to receive the benefits earned through their military service. The American Legion helps today's transitioning service members secure jobs by sponsoring hundreds of job fairs across the country each year. The Legion's founders set out to support veterans, assist military families, mentor youth, and promote Americanism. Today's members of the American Legion hold those values true while continuing to build on the legacy. Today's American Legion advocates for veterans' rights in Congress and every state legislature. Today's American Legion supports veterans seeking their military benefits. Today's American Legion provides scholarships and aid to veterans and military families in need. Today's American Legion gives scholarships to college students. Today's American Legion creates opportunities to turn youths into model citizens. Today's American Legion builds on a legacy of a century of service to nation, state, and community.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The ceremony that you are about to witness is an Army Wreath laying ceremony to be conducted by American Legion Boys Nation. It is requested that everyone remain silent and standing during this ceremony. All military personnel in uniform will render the hand salute, and it is appropriate for all others to place their right hand over their heart upon the command of present arms.
Well, I think the wreath that we place on a grave, especially the Tomb of the Unknown, it is a reminder to us of, again, the freedom that we have as a result of their service, and also that we are not forgetting them, honoring their service. And I think that's part of being a member in a grateful nation.
Seeing Arlington for the first time, at first it was saddening to see that magnitude of people that had given their lives and people that had lost their lives, and each one had a name, and that name represented a family that must have missed them because the soldiers and their wives and children and parents also sacrificed. But that sadness was soon replaced with gratefulness and humility when I realized that this many people had given their lives, their time, oftentimes their childhood even, for the chance and the hope that people like me and my other Boys Nation delegates would get to live in the free country and get to live our way of life. Adding that on top of being able to give something, even though it's a sort of small gesture in the grand scheme of things, to men that gave not only their lives, but their entire identity for our freedom and our way of life, is really humbling and a reverent experience. I was very honored to be a part of that.
Order! Up!
My whole life I knew about the Marine Corps. My father was a Marine, and I learned most about it from his values that he held personally. So it always kind of drew me towards it, and something I always wanted to do since I was about 4 years old. I was talking to recruiters when I was about 16 years old. I signed the paperwork a month after I turned 17, and I shipped before my 18th birthday. and I had my 18th birthday in boot camp. My father joined the American Legion about 3 years ago, and then when he did that, he started telling me more about it, and I joined the Sons of the Legion.
I found this is to be the family I didn't know I had. When I came to this post, I was mesmerized by the fantastic venue, of course, and then the membership. And from World War II veterans to current day guys, they're all my brothers and sisters and veterans that I don't know how I live my life without them.
And so since I came back as an active duty member, I joined the American Legion to become a full-fledged Legionnaire. When I joined the American Legion, I was about 18 years and 2 months.
Well, it was a very proud moment in my life. The American Legion means a lot to me, and for me to be a veteran and a member of the Legion is fantastic. And then to have my son become a member as well is just, it's kind of overwhelming. It's too marvelous for words, as I would say.
Now that I'm a Legionnaire, I do feel somewhat more welcomed here. I always kind of felt really welcomed here, but it's kind of like more, we have a lot more of a like broader and closer camaraderie while I'm here at the post. Right now, I am at 29 Palms in the schoolhouse, training for my MOS, which is 2800 electronics maintenance. I talk to my fellow Marines about the American Legion all the time. I always kind of mention it to them, and when some of them come out here, they want to join, but it's all about getting the time away from our service to come out here. Yeah, so even joining the American Legion as a young kid just a few years ago, joining as a son, I used to play a lot of pool down at the post. And even when I got back out of my boot camp and basic training, started going back and started playing pool since I became a member. It's kind of the same camaraderie I have back at the post playing pool as I do here playing pool with my fellow Marines. Knowing that there are veterans organizations such as the American Legion that are there to help us transition from our active duty military service lifestyle back to the civilian lifestyle is like, it's very reassuring to know that we're not going to be kind of just tossed back out there to like fend for ourselves. The military does help, but they don't always help like to the full capability that they can all the time. So there's always, it's just really good to know, very comforting to know that there's veterans organizations out there to help us make that big transition.
All right, folks, just a quick update. President Donald Trump is set to speak next. As you guys can see, his podium is ready to go, and also the place where he's going to be signing the executive order is ready to go. They're just getting everything ready. President Trump should be coming up right now in the next few minutes. So don't go anywhere. Please share the stream. Make sure you guys give it a thumbs up, and you guys share it on social media everywhere. This is very important for the veterans, okay? So make sure that you guys post it on social media, spread it everywhere, and let people know President Trump is about to speak in just a few minutes. Thank you very much.
built a number of highly successful international real estate, hotel, sports, and entertainment businesses. On November 8, 2016, he was elected 45th President of the United States of America. The President and senior officials in the administration have since met the American Legion on numerous occasions, and on June 23rd, he signed the Department of Veterans Affairs Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act of 2017 into law. His administration has proposed a $54 million increase in military spending and, consistent with American Legion resolutions, authorized construction of the Keystone XL pipeline. The White House has also taken steps to reduce illegal immigration, and the President has publicly called for legally protecting the flag of our United States of America from desecration. My fellow Legionnaires, ladies and gentlemen, proud Americans, it is my honor to introduce the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you, Commander Schmidt, for that wonderful introduction and for your steadfast devotion to our country. I want to thank all of our distinguished guests with us today, including HUD Secretary Ben Carson, VA Secretary David Shulkin, and former Secretary of Defense Bob Gates. Where is Bob Gates? Bob Gates has been so great. Tell you, he started off saying bad things about me, and then he said great things, and now I like him. Thank you, Bob. It's a great honor to be back here with all of my friends at the American Legion and your national convention. I want to thank Governor Sandoval for being here. Dean Heller is here someplace or will shortly be here. He's caught the first flight out. So I want to thank Dean Heller, Senator, for being here. The American Legion embodies the spirit of patriotism that is the true source of our strength and the best hope for our future. You love our country, you cherish our values, and you definitely defend our great American flag. No doubt about that. Above all else, you believe in America, just like America believes in you. Today, we are here to honor you for the sacrifices you have made to defend our nation and preserve our way of life. But we're also here for another reason. We are here to hold you up as an example of strength, courage, and resolve that our country will need to overcome the many challenges that we face. We are here to draw inspiration from you as we seek to renew the bonds of loyalty that bind us together as one people and one nation. Those who wear the nation's uniform come from all different backgrounds and from every single walk of life. But they are all united by shared values and a shared sense of duty. They are all part of one team with only one mission in mind. Most importantly, they're all Americans, and they work together, they fight together, and they sacrifice together to defend our magnificent home. Thank you. Now our nation must follow that same work ethic, that same devotion to a greater cause, to achieve our country's full potential. Here with us today are veterans who have fought in every major military engagement dating all the way back to World War II. You've endured bitter winters, treacherous jungles, barren deserts, and stormy waters. You've left your families, charged into danger, faced down your enemies, and bore the scars and wounds of war. Each of you took an oath to support and defend the Constitution. With that oath, you pledged your honor and your very lives for our great nation. Every veteran here today is part of a long, unbroken chain of American heroes. We salute your service. The American Legion not only remembers history, you help keep history alive. You teach young Americans to have pride in our history so that they will have confidence in our future. History and culture, so important. For generations now, the American Legion has taught our young people the principles of Americanism. You emphasize the need to preserve the nation's cultural, moral, and patriotic values. You encourage the observation of patriotic holidays. You stress the need to enforce our laws, including our immigration laws. You teach the responsibilities of citizenship and the importance of the Pledge of Allegiance. True. So important. And you do it all, as your motto says, for God and country. That's why we're here today, for America and for God. But to fulfill our patriotic duties, we must take care of our great veterans. One year ago at this gathering, and I remember so many of you so well, I promised you that I would make it my priority to fix the broken VA and deliver our veterans the care they so richly deserve. And you see what's been happening. Now you have a true reformer in Secretary David Shulkin. He has done an incredible job. He's working night and day to implement the 10-point reform plan that I discussed with you last year. Already we have made incredible progress. We are publishing wait times online for every VA facility, so you know what the wait is. We've delivered same-day emergency mental health services at every VA medical center. We've opened the promised White House VA hotline. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. We've dramatically increased the number of veterans approved to see the doctor of their choice and signal legislation to continue that very important choice program that I spoke to you about last year. And I want to thank the American Legion for your help in getting this done. You have been so helpful. Thank you very much. Something that they've been trying to pass for 40 years, and we've passed VA accountability legislation. So if somebody that works at the VA is bad to the people of the VA, disrespectful, not treating our fellow patriots well, we look at them and we say, "You're fired." That's it. That's it. They don't do a good job, they're out. Because we want people, we have great people at the VA, but we want people that do a great job. We weren't able to do that before. That was a hard piece of legislation to get passed. It's been worked on for so long, we got it done. So we're very proud of that. Last week, I also signed the Harry W. Colmery Veterans Educational Assistant Act. That's a big thing. This legislation bears the name of one of the first members of the Legion, your past commander, a man who wrote the original draft of the first landmark GI Bill in 1944. And now, under this legislation, veterans can use their GI benefits at any point in their lifetime. Some difference. And in just a few moments, right here on this stage, I will sign another historic bill that the American Legion helped us deliver, the Veterans Appeals Improvement and Modernization Act. And you all know what that means. Right? No longer will veterans be kept waiting for years to get an answer to their appeals. They will receive timely updates, and they will get decisions much more quickly in a fraction of the time. And the Legion, I have to say, pressed so hard for that legislation. So I want to thank you very much. I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much. You really helped. They have a lot of power, and they use it well. When I spoke to you last year, I also promised that we would build up our military, and that's exactly what we have done. I am proud to report that we have worked with Congress to achieve a dramatic increase in defense spending this year. We are committed to expanding and improving a state-of-the-art missile defense system to shoot down missiles in flight. And we're getting better and better and better at it. It's actually incredible what's taking place. And we will develop new surveillance and long-range strike capabilities to prevent our enemies from launching them in the first place. In every foreign policy decision, thank you. In every foreign policy decision, we are making clear that we will always put the safety and security of our citizens first. That is why early this week I announced a new strategy in Afghanistan and South Asia. We will pursue an honorable and enduring outcome in Afghanistan, worthy of the tremendous sacrifice our troops have already made. We will give our men and women in uniform the tools they need and the trust they have earned to fight and to win. And we have made, as you have been reading and seeing, tremendous progress in the fight against terrorism. Just over a month ago in Iraq, Mosul was liberated from the barbaric rule of ISIS. We are stripping terrorists of their territory at a record clip. their funding, their networks, and the false allure of their ideology. And I will tell you, we're going to start working very hard on the internet, because they're using the internet at a level that they should not be allowed to use the internet. They're recruiting from the internet, and we are going to work under my administration very hard so that doesn't happen. No longer are we using our military to build democracies. Instead, we're forming a coalition of nations that share the aim of stamping out extremism, defeating terrorism, and pursuing stability, prosperity, and peace. Through the generations, America has always prevailed, not by military might alone, but also by the strength of our spirit. And we have in this country today such spirit. I see it when I meet the people backstage. They're so proud once again. I must say, much more proud than they were last year at this time. They are feeling very good about our country. Very, very good about our country. Because our people have always had that will to endure and to overcome. This is now the challenge of our times. We must ask ourselves who we are, what we stand for, and what together we can achieve. If American patriots could secure our independence, carve out a home in the wilderness, and free millions from tyranny and oppression around the world, then that same spirit of strength, courage, and resolve can help us create a better future for our people today, a future like even our people have never had before in this great country. That's what we're aiming for. We don't have to be content with a dilapidated road system, with crumbling buildings, or rusted-out factories. We can build gleaming new highways, state-of-the-art manufacturing, and modern works of wonder, and we can do it all with American workers and American iron, aluminum, and steel. We can do it ourselves. We do not have to accept the economic decay of once thriving hubs of industry, where they leave and they let all those jobs go, and those companies move to other countries. We've stopped that flow, and companies are now coming back into the United States, and I am so proud of that. We can bring new jobs to Pittsburgh and Detroit and Baltimore and help struggling communities thrive and dream and prosper. We do not need to limit the potential of our children by trapping them in failing government schools. Every child should have the chance to explore their talents, pursue their passions, and know the joy of achieving their ambitions. And we will never tolerate crime in our cities, bloodshed in our communities, or acts of hatred or terrorism against our citizens. We will not stand for it. We will always support our great law enforcement personnel. These are great people. Build bridges of trust and cooperation and keep our families safe. It is time to heal the wounds that divide us and to seek a new unity based on the common values that unite us. We are one people with one home and one great flag. We are not defined by the color of our skin, the figure on our paycheck, or the party of our politics. We are defined by our shared humanity, by our citizenship in this magnificent nation, and by the love that fills our hearts. And I know, I speak for all of you when I say our hearts beat for America. Our souls fill with pride every time we hear the national anthem. This is the spirit we need to overcome our challenges, to pursue our common destiny, and to achieve a brighter future for our people. We will win. Watch. We will win. This is the future we can build together if we have the courage to act, the strength to endure, and the patriotism to join together with true affection for our fellow citizen. I want to close with the story of a hero who defines this spirit of service and sacrifice, a man whose strength, patriotism, and courage knows no bounds, a Vietnam veteran who threw himself on top of a grenade to protect his fellow comrades. This true American hero went on to serve in the National Guard for over 27 years. He is now a retired captain at his local fire department and owns a funeral home that memorializes our heroes. And he has worked tirelessly to bring another veterans post to Kansas City so that those who return from combat have a place to go that honors and supports them. Some of you know this incredible patriot. He's a friend to many in this room. He is with us here today, and he's on stage with us right now, Medal of Honor recipient Donald E. Ballard. He's got to say a word, right? This wasn't in the planning. Do I have your approval? Yes, sir. Come on, Don, get up there.
There is no greater love than someone that loves this country, and I believe we've elected the right leader to lead us out to drain the swamp.
Thank you,
I traveled with you before you were elected.
Thank you so much.
22
See, that's very risky of me. That could ruin the whole day for me. If he got up and said the opposite, I would be in trouble. So thank you, Don. That was very risky. I didn't know what was going to happen. I had a pretty good idea. But, Don, on behalf of the people of the United States, I want to thank you for your courageous service. You inspire us all. Today, we are reminded that the greatness of our nation is found in our people like Don. As long as we have faith in each other and confidence in our values, then there is no challenge too great for us to conquer. We are people. We are people who love. We are people with heart. We are people who adore. We are people that are great. There is no country like the United States of America. We have no division too deep for us to heal. And there is no enemy too strong for us to overcome. Because in America, we never lose faith. We never forget who we are, and we never stop striving for a better future. Together, we cannot fail. We will not fail. We will make America great again, greater than ever before, I promise. So I want to thank you to the American Legion. You talk of greatness. You talk of greatness. The American Legion is greatness. Thank you very much to our service members and to Don and to everybody in the room. Thank you to our great, great veterans. May God bless you. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. It's my honor. Thank you. Thank you. This is a big one. Thank you, everybody.
All right, folks, thank you very much for joining us and choosing us as your stream of choice. If you are new, subscribe to the channel. We stream everything that has to do with the president, politics, White House, everything. So make sure you stay here with us at Golden State Times. We're going to shut this down, and then we're going to bring up another stream because the State Department is having a press briefing. So if you guys want to join us, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. That way, when we go back up online, you guys are going to be able to get a notification telling you guys that we are back live. So don't go anywhere. Stay here at Golden State Times. Thank you very much, like I said. And I hope to see you guys on the chat in just a few minutes on the State Department briefing that we're going to be streaming live here at Golden State Times. So I hope to see you guys there. My name is Jen. I'm signing off, and I'll see you soon. Peace. Again, if you guys would like to check out the State Department briefing, it's coming up next. As soon as we shut this down, we're going to bring up the U.S. State Department briefing with Heather. So if you guys want to join us, make sure to check on the channel, hit the notification bell and the subscribe button, and you guys will get a heads up. So we'll see you guys in just a few minutes. Thank you.